sex, intimacy, desire. Topics rarely spoken about in church, yet deeply significant in our spiritual walk. But one question lingers in the minds of many believers. Is oral sex a sin? Does the Bible address it directly? Or is it simply left to personal conviction? Today, we uncover the biblical truth about this taboo topic. And you may be surprised at what the scripture reveals. Before we answer the question, we must first understand God's purpose for sex. Genesis 2 verse 24 says, "For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." Sex is a sacred gift from God. It is meant for pleasure, intimacy, and procreation, but only within the covenant of marriage. Hebrews 13 verse 4. But does this biblical design include oral sex? Or does it fall into the category of sinful lust? The Bible does not explicitly mention oral sex, neither approving nor condemning it. However, some believe Song of Solomon contains symbolic references to intimate acts. Let's examine Song of Solomon 2 verse 3, "Like an apple tree among the trees of the forest is my beloved among the young men. I delight to sit in his shade, and his fruit is sweet to my taste." Many scholars suggest this is poetic imagery celebrating marital pleasure. Others argue it is purely metaphorical. So, does this mean oral sex is biblically permissible? Not so fast. Throughout Scripture, God warns against sexual immorality. 1 Corinthians 6 verse 18 commands, "Flee from sexual immorality." Every other sin a person commits is outside the body, but the sexually immoral person sins against his own body. If oral sex leads to lust, addiction, or sinful desires outside of marriage, it crosses the line into immorality. But what about married couples? If both partners consent, is it still sinful? Here's where the line is drawn. Any sexual activity outside marriage, including oral sex, is considered fornication. For this is the will of God, your sanctification, that you abstain from sexual immorality. If oral sex is used outside of a biblical marriage, it is sinful, no exceptions. But inside marriage? That's where personal conviction comes into play. Ultimately, if an action violates your conscience, it becomes sin for you. Romans 14 verse 23 reminds us, "Whatever does not proceed from faith is sin." If a married couple feels convicted that oral sex is unclean, they should abstain. But if they both agree it enhances their bond without violating Scripture, it may not be sinful. The key is honoring God in all that we do, 1 Corinthians 10 verse 31. So, why is this topic so controversial? Some Christians strongly believe any act outside traditional intercourse is unnatural. Others argue that within marriage, it is part of God's design. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. So let's go back to the question, is oral sex a sin? If it is within a loving, God-honoring marriage, the Bible does not forbid it. If it is used in lust, outside marriage, or leads to sin, it is immoral. The real question is, does it glorify God? Sexuality is sacred. The world distorts it, but God defines it. What's your take? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe for more biblical truths on faith, relationships, and spiritual living. Don't forget to like and share to spread the truth.